You guys ready? If you're just seeing this now and it's kind of in the past, type of replay in the comments. And if you are here and you're live, like say where you're at and say hi to me, because otherwise I get lonely living by myself. So today I want to talk a little bit about brand awareness, because I feel like a lot of times coaches, specifically coaches rely a lot on getting referrals and not enough on building out their brand, really making people think of something when they see their brand. Most times the coaches that I've talked to are in a spot where they want more clients, or they're looking to restructure and take on like more group clients or something like that. But they are kind of just cruising along with referrals every now and again, and they're doing okay and it's making some money. But if you want to get to the next level, then you can't just rely on referrals, unless you're a massive company that's how they, not a massive company, but, unless that's like totally what you want to rely on, that's your business model, that's fine. But I really think that creating some content to show people how you are unique and how you are different is helpful, is the most helpful thing to do. So, referrals aren't sustainable, that's the bottom line. Hey Zach, welcome. Windsor, Ontario, that's not very far away from me, here in Toronto. Cool. And so there's a few different ways that I have, I've got a list really of a few different ways that you can put yourself out there and create more brand awareness for yourself. So there's a couple of different pieces, right? So first of all, how do you create the brand awareness? Like what type of stuff should you be talking about? And then the second part is how can you actually talk about it? So the first thing, obviously, and this is a little bit regurgitating what you probably already know, is to be unique. And I know everyone says that, be yourself, be unique, and how do you actually do that? I see a lot of information about a lot of things that's, vague, and it's like, just do this. So how are you supposed to be unique? How do you be your true self? Well, a lot of people call it embracing your weird. Embracing your weird is a really good thing to do so that people can remember who you are and how you operate. If you don't think that you're weird, you're definitely weird. But you just haven't realized it yet. And other people, ask your friends how you're weird, because hopefully they'll be honest with you and tell you how you can embrace your weird. And if your weirdness isn't the type of thing that you can, publicly embrace, that's okay. There's more things on the list. But just figure out exactly what it is that makes you unique, makes you weird. If you really like puns, do puns. If you have a strange haircut, have it, own it. If you like to wear hats, do that. Do whatever it is. Have a number of things that are remarkable, specifically about you, that make you unique, because people will not remember you if you just blend in. And that is, unfortunately, the truth. That's one of the ways that you can set yourself apart, is by visually having some sort of unique features. And if you have some like beliefs or values that you really strongly uphold, then those are really valuable as well to show who you are as a person. Other things that might make you unique are like a sense of humor, like I said, a writing style. Maybe you do videos, you only do videos, and that's what makes you unique, because you're constantly doing videos all the time. Or maybe you're producing blog posts, or you're a featured writer or something you're going all in on, and that's what makes you unique. Other things that can help with this are, or I guess other things to set you apart is, how does your branding look? What are your colors? What are your fonts? That type of stuff. And really being, I guess the second point here is being consistent. So consistent in your branding and how it looks. Consistent in how often you post. So if you posted something super different every day, so one of your posts was orange and it had like stripes, and one post was like a blue and it was circles, and one post was just white with like a totally blank, font, like a boring font, and then it's just people there's nothing wrong with doing that, but like people won't remember. There's something about seeing consistent. I'm not like a scientist, or I haven't done any research on this really. I've read a few things, but there's something about when you continue to see someone's brand. Like if you saw the brand Coca-Cola, you'd just know it in 1 second because we see it all the time. It's constant. It's always red. It always has the same logo. There's usually not a lot else going on with it, right? Like maybe it's got like some, well, in New Zealand they had this ad for Santa because he was in red and they had Coke. But anyway, like that's what we remember is the red and the logo, right? And if the McDonald's is the yellow logo and the red, it's repetitive. We know it. And so that's what we want to do with your brand. It doesn't have to be like a massive, food manufacturer brand or anything. You could do that just with, a particular image or a logo that you continue to use. Because if you're really making it different all the time, people's brains don't recognize that it's yours and you're wasting valuable brand awareness content. So those two things, posting regularly and keeping similar branding. And then also, I've talked about this a lot, like saying the same things over and over again. We talked about this last week. We always talk about the same 10, 15, 20 things. Most of what I talk about is content. And I talk about, what else do I talk about? Being a digital nomad and traveling around, being from New Zealand, growing up in a cult, personal reinvention. I talk about a few more things. I'd say I probably talk about 12 things. And that is it. Because a lot of people, even though you might be like, oh, you always talk about like repurposing content, blah, I'm over it. But there's still people who message me and go, hey, I didn't know you did repurposing content. And I'm like, I've known you for, like at least a year online. You've seen all my stuff. Like, where have you been? Living under a rock? But you have to keep saying your things and you have to keep repeating them because people need the brand awareness. And we need to see things 16, 20 times before our brains are like, oh, like before they actually register. Because otherwise we just see them and forget. All right, so what else have I got on this list? What do you care about? So things that you really care about. Black Lives Matter. I've posted a lot about Black Lives Matter. I'm continuing to post about it because it's not just something that should have, that happened then and now it's done. Black lives always matter. They continue to matter. And so that's important. And so I will continue to use that as one of my values within my business. That's a thing that's important to me, so I'll keep talking about it. And if you have things in your life or business that you really care about, it's important to say those because it helps with your brand awareness. It helps attract the right audience to you, the ones who believe the same as you do. You will attract and magnetize those people to you if you say things that you care about. All right, so I've got a list of, I guess like a short list of things or ways that you can build your brand awareness. We talked about publishing something regularly, and I guess that's kind of what I wanted to touch on a little bit here. So obviously, content repurposing is the first thing I'm going to talk about. Right? It's the first thing because it's so important to get that message out regularly. And how, you can't write, or you could write a blog post every day or make a video every day or make new stuff all the time, constantly on a wheel. And sometimes that's a really good challenge to do for yourself. It's and if you want to do that, cool, you don't listen to this section. But in order to really create enough content, unless you have a whole team of people doing it for you, you really need to repurpose your content. You really need to use the content that you've already got. It's not like you're saying new stuff all the time. You're just saying the same 15 things over and over again. So repurpose your content, grab the clips of yourself saying those things and use them again as their own content. I do know people who have done like 30-day blog challenges and stuff like that. Super epic. I did a podcast a couple of years ago that was like 100 podcasts in 100 days. Oh, that was a lot. That was a lot. And I don't highly recommend it. Well, if you want to do it, do it. But it really did take a lot of time, and I didn't always feel like doing a podcast. So it was a lot. But If you repurpose your content, what you're doing is using your branding, publishing regularly, and saying your same 15 things over and over again. So what that does is keeps people remembering that you exist, because you cannot make sales if no one remembers that you exist. It's important to get your content, like I said last week, and shove it right in people's faces. That's important. So how else can you do things if you're not content repurposing, if you just want to create content? Well, you can answer questions on social media. You get questions all the time in your business. People ask you things. There's things that keep coming up. You can make videos or write posts or blogs or whatever about those questions. Just answer a question a week. Spend 5 minutes. It's fine. You're still putting out content. You can do interviews with people in your industry. The really good thing about doing interviews with people in your industry, whether it's you being interviewed or whether you're interviewing them, the really good thing is that it makes you look like an authority. So you are, when you're seen with this person, people associate you with them. It's subconscious, even though they may be like, no, I don't. It's in your brain. When you see somebody like that, your brain thinks that that person is doing well because they're hanging out with this other person that's doing well. It's just association. So when you interview other people or when you're interviewed, you look like an authority, and that is what we want. All right, be interviewed, like I said, on other people's podcasts. If you want to know more about that, you can check out my website, beckpower.me. There's a lot of information about getting booked on other people's podcasts. I think I booked about 7 podcasts today. They were in my inbox, and I was going through just booking the invitations that had kind of piled up in there that I hadn't dealt with. So if you want to do 5 podcasts a month, that can make you look really authoritative as well. And then you can use that content to make you even more content using content repurposing. So a couple more. We've got guest posting. So actually and there's 2 ways to do this. Either looking up guest posts, how to do guest posts on people's blogs or things like that. Or writing for actual, as a contributor for things like Thrive Global, Entrepreneur, Good Men Project. There's a whole bunch of different places that you can submit your articles and have them published. And you can repurpose those if you want. That's not really the point. The point is to say that you've now been published in those places and to use that content, as leverage to say, hey, I'm published in here, and you could use that content for any number of things. Break it up into pieces, or you could just repost it on your blog or on your LinkedIn as a LinkedIn article, or just show people or publish it on your social platforms. You're doing a live show, Facebook live show, just regular content, whatever you want, talking about your 15 topics over again in different ways. You could interview people for it. You could come up with your own ask me anything things once a week or something like that. Or you could start your own podcast. There's tons of ways to do it. Starting a podcast is pretty easy nowadays. But the most important thing that you have to do is tell stories. I have not done enough stories on my platforms, and I'm going to be working on that really soon, I'm actually really excited about it. But I never really knew how to tell stories, and I always thought that they were just unrelated. I have a lot of stories about Tinder dates and drunken escapades and crazy travel stories. And I always was like, well, no one wants to hear my crazy travel stories in my business. But sometimes, maybe they don't every day, but sometimes it can be really hilarious and help you to be more endearing to your audience if you tell them stories of things that have happened to you. Either, case studies of clients who had something amazing happen, or just dumb things that happen to you when you're at the supermarket. It doesn't matter, because humans love stories. So those are a few ways that I thought I could suggest to you for how to build your brand awareness while you're waiting for your next referral, because there's nothing wrong with getting referrals. That's awesome. get more referrals. That's great. But I think it's really helpful as well to build up your brand awareness so that people can really understand more about you, more about your business, see you as more of an authority, and also bridge that gap between, oh, I don't really know what she does, or he does, or they do, to like, oh, I need to work with this person. This is exactly what I need. Like, there's a lot of times, and you can think of it when you've worked with somebody, when you've paid somebody to do something, especially online, where you have seen them before. Like, how often have you seen them before? If you just met them, it's unlikely you're as willing to give them money as if you had been following them for a little while. And if you're not paying people who you've just met, then you can't really expect other people to pay you if they've just met you either. And if it doesn't mean like physically met or even met online. It's literally the idea that they get of you watching all of your content. So that is that's it for me. Oh, Zach, I am doing a podcast, mate. I've got it going. It's called Amplify Content, and it's in the usual places that you find podcasts. I have had about 3 podcasts in the past. I think one of the things I struggle with a little bit is, when you start a podcast, and I actually am going to do a whole video about this another time. When you start a podcast and you're like, great, now I have to do this forever. Which is why it was really good for me to do the 100 one, 100 podcasts in 100 days. And, this one won't be forever. None of them are forever, but I think it's psychologically difficult to be like, oh, this has to just go in, several hundred episodes or whatever. I like doing them in bursts, so I'll probably do this one to 100 episodes as well and then start a new concept, just because, sometimes it's better just to mix it up so that you can be more, I don't even know, like emotionally involved in what you're doing, because otherwise you kind of, I don't know if a lot of people are like this, but I tend to switch off after doing something for a really long time. So I like to just switch up the way that I deliver things. But yes, I do have a podcast, Amplify Content. All right, well, that's it from me. If you have any questions, please shoot me a message below this video. I'll be happy to answer them. And I am going to do a recording of the live that I did yesterday that died halfway through. Good thing this one has kept going, I believe. So I'll be posting the video of the training that I did yesterday in this group later on this evening, hopefully. I've got to re-record it. But if you have any questions, post them out here and I will catch you later.